Hello guys, I'm on the channel. Today we're going to rank all 6 Middle-earth movies from worst to best. Share your rank in the comments below. Tell me what you think about these movies. Do you love these movies? Are you not a big fan? Are you not as into them? Let me know in the comments below. And go check my Hobbit reviews as well as my Lord of the Rings reviews that came out back in June. And let's get started. Coming in number 6 is going to be The Hobbit, The Battle of the Five Armies. I think, to be honest, as I said, the Hobbit movies, they are stretched out and there's so many scenes that are stretched out, and the Battle of the Five Armies is probably the worst or biggest example of that, because like it takes this, I think, scene in the book that was only like 3 or 4 pages, like Bilbo gets knocked out and then like wakes up another day or something, and then it's literally stretched out over an entire like hour and a half battle.
You disappoint me.
With like, I think the first like 51 minutes of the movie, like, or 50 minutes or something like that, just getting ready for the battle, or like, I don't know, like first 30 minutes getting ready, and then the rest of the movie's just all battles, and it's like, why are we doing this? At first, I was like, this is okay, and then I realized, oh wait, there's all this lapses in logic, and like, how are they able to take all these orcs so easily? There's so much armies. There's a bit with Legolas fighting an orc on a bridge, and that completely defies logic. How are they still fighting with the bridges? It's just so frustrating, and some of these battles like last long for like 10 minutes, so it just leads to them being long scenes, and even like this battle, which is supposed to be this like big ending, doesn't feel like the right conclusion to this. I feel like the right conclusion just would have been this end to this whimsical adventure, but that's not what they turned the Hobbit movies into. And also, the whole plotline with the gold, I think, went on for too long. They waited way too long to get until they got Thorin back into battle, and then there were way too many cavalry moments, so it kind of just takes away the idea of here comes the cavalry. There's some nice moments here, like the one with the cavalry moment with Thorin and the other dwarves. Also, I think the end bit with where they mentioned Aragorn, I think that bit was kind of nice. And I think the character arcs here are fine. The characters are fun as usual, and they also try to do this bit with Hugo Weaving and Saruman, as well as Gandalf, where they're trying to set up Lord of the Rings, which had nothing to do with the story itself. So it's like, why is this here? And there's just so many things that don't need to be here that are here, and it leads to a very frustrating film, and I don't like this one. I've decided I don't really like it. Still watchable, but yeah, nah. Coming in number 5 is going to be The Hobbit, The Unexpected Journey. You know what? This one, it's alright. I think there's some great moments in this one. Like, I think the Gollum bit is great. I forgot to mention that in my review, but, you know, it's just fun to see Gollum again. I think he's one of my favorite characters from Lord of the Rings movies, and he's great here. The way you just still monologuing with himself and see him at a younger, I guess, age is kind of cool, and him getting the ring, those are some nice moments. The last 40 minutes of this movie are actually really good, and I think the first 20 minutes are really good, but then the rest of it is kind of a slog to get through, because you have it takes about 30-40 minutes to get until you get into the scenes where the dwarves are singing in the Shire. This whole bit with in Rivendell goes on for way too long. It goes on for like 30 minutes. I'm like,
why is this still going?
And then there's this whole 10-minute subplot with these trolls, which is kind of just out there. And then everything just needed to be stretched out because they're trying to make this trilogy into, I think everyone knows this at this point, they split the book into 3 movies.
So I made a decision, and it was wrong. It was a bad call, Ripley. It was a bad call.
Bad call.
One of them actually was pretty good, and we'll get to that one soon. And then the other 2, I think the opening and the ending kind of were frustrating, where like this feels like the first, even if you wanted to make a trilogy, just make them like hour and 45-minute movies or something like that. So they, as I said, they split kind of were frustrating, where like this feels like the first 30 to 45 minutes, and then that Battle of the Five Armies feels like the last 30 minutes or something. I think that's still fun enough. I think there's some great moments, like with Gandalf. It's always fun to see him in these movies. It's fun to go see our Lord of the Rings in Middle-earth world again. And as I said in my review, I think Bilbo Baggins is a great character. I think he's a much better character than Frodo Baggins by quite a bit, because he actually is willing to go fight. He actually is brave enough to take on an orc, and he even saves Thorin at one point, which is a great moment. So yeah, I think great character, and I think overall a lot of these dwarf characters, it's fun to see dwarves finally. I mean, we saw Gimli in the Lord of the Rings trilogy, but we didn't really see any other dwarves, so fun to kind of get something a little different in these movies. In the end, this one's fine. Coming in number 4 is going to be The Hobbit, The Desolation of Smaug. easily the best of the Hobbit trilogy for me. I really enjoyed this one. There's some great moments, like the dragon Smog, played by or voiced by Benedict Cumberbatch. I think he did a fantastic job in bringing this character to life, and the dragon effects look great. And another problem with these movies is that, like, I think they use a bit too much CGI, whereas the Lord of the Rings movies, they're filming an actual set with some creature uniforms, or I think, I don't know, something like that. Let me know in the comments below if you know, or creature costumes, I don't know. So I think the dragon looked really cool. I also think some of the action sequences are really cool. There was spider bit, even though the spider CGI with the mouth like glaring and roaring at Bilbo kind of made me laugh at one point. Even though that's like kind of odd at best, but you also have, as I said, the dragon fight and at the end, that's really cool. I also really love the sequence with the barrel in the Woodland Elf Kingdom or whatever. That was a fun sequence. And the one problem with this one, I think it drags a bit in the middle with when they're out in the lake town for like 30-45 minutes, and I think it just drags. And then there's some scenes at the end where they're like these long conversations with Bilbo. I think there's some good, they're pretty good, but like they just go on for too long. I like the opening sequence, love the ending. Like, I think there's some bits in the middle that I think it just drags a bit, like when you get to the lake town and it just moves very slowly through that, and then they have to get to the mountain, and then they have to defeat Smog. And the way that's all playing out, it's a little oddly done, and overall, it's fine. It just doesn't do much for me. Like these Hobbit movies, they're interesting enough. I did like this one quite a bit, actually, quite a bit more than the other ones. And as I said, there's some great moments here, especially everything related to Smog and all of that, and the whole bit where Frodo takes the Arkenstone leads to some interesting plots in the last one, that I did like. But these movies are just frustrating. So let's get into something I actually love. Just to know, before we get into the top 3, I did give a watch to all of the 3 Lord of the Rings films, and yeah, so share your rank in the comments below. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe, and well, let's move on. Kicking off the top 3 is going to be The Lord of the Rings, The Two Towers. Still really like this one, even though it is my least favorite of the Lord of the Rings trilogy. Doesn't really hurt the movie itself, because, I mean, it does kind of have your classic middle chapter problems, where the first one has the fun of the setup, and the last one is the epicness of the payoff. Here, you're kind of just in the middle. We are kind of having to bridge the two, which is fine. I think this one, it's the highest Rotten Tomato score, which makes me question a few things, which that's odd, but still, some great moments. My favorite bits of the film, obviously, are the Battle of Helm's Deep and the battle with the Ents attacking the Sauron's tower, whatever. Some great bits here. I mean, Helm's Deep, it just shows, it's just a perfect battle with all our characters battling all the orcs, and the struggle they have to do with keeping, 10,000 orcs from getting through Helm's Deep and attacking all the people. There's just some great moments there. And yeah, even though people do complain about the Ents and the CGI, I think it's fine. I think of all the things, it doesn't hold up as well as some of the other things in this franchise, but it holds up, I think, fine. I mean, it's a little odd, but still, I think that they're perfectly on. Although I think they sound kind of weird though. And yeah, so Christopher Lee's great as Sauron. Obviously, all of our characters are amazing. Legolas, Gimli, and Aragorn. This is kind of where the little Gimli Legolas banter, where 19, 17, or whatever the kill count, the thing, you know what I'm talking about. You've seen these movies before, and that's a lot of fun. The Here Comes the Cavalry moment is probably that, or the Thor and Infinity War with the axe. It's between those two moments for the best Here Comes the Cavalry moment of all time, and it's all amazing. Also, the Gollum character, the introduction to him, that's great. He's a character I wasn't that big of a fan of at first, but as time has gone on, I've realized I've come to love this guy.
Lie. Master's my friend. You don't have any friends. Nobody likes you. Not listening.
The middle section of it is... it's alright. It kind of takes a while to get going. You have the redemption of the King of Rohan, and then where they go from there. And then there's also some bits with Sam, Frodo, and Gollum kind of having to go through these swamps. And the middle of it, I think, is kind of alright. I mean, we're just kind of getting through this, kind of having to go to the next thing. And still like the middle section here, but I just don't think it's as fun as the rest of the movie or as interesting. So, yeah, I just think that's probably the weakest part of the movie. I don't know. Still, love this movie. It is my least favorite of the trilogy, but it's one of the best trilogies of all time. I mean, come on. My number 2 is going to be The Lord of the Rings, The Fellowship of the Ring. Love this movie. absolutely amazing. One of the best introductions to any trilogy. Might be the second best, just behind The New Hope. And yeah, there's just so many amazing moments, so many amazing characters. Just an all around amazing movie. I mean, it's not the characters. I mean, you have Gandalf. I mean, just such a great wizard played by Ian McKellen. Does a great job. And you shall not pass.
You shall not pass!
I can picture the amount of you guys that are cringing in the comments below. I can picture you guys typing in it. So I'm expecting it. And yeah, just fun, great character. Also, you have Frodo, Sam, Merry, and Pippin. All of our 4 hobbits, all great. Sam being my personal favorite, just such a loyal guy. Hobbit, Merry, and Pippin are some fun friends, I guess. And Frodo, he's the ring bearer, I guess. I don't think he's that good of a character, but still, well, he's fine. Also, you have Aragorn, just such a great, the Ranger from the North, just such a cool character. Also, Legolas is fantastic. Gimli, those two are a lot of fun and great banter with each other throughout the trilogy. It gets even better after this one. And you have Saruman the White, played by Christopher Lee, does a great job here, even though it doesn't have that many scenes, but I think he's great still. You have Sean Bean playing Boromir here, which he dies in the movies for like the 100th time, but he's still great. Really, our entire fellowship, the entire cast is amazing here. And it's just such a fantastic movie. Like, it just brings together this world that's absolutely amazing and so fun to go on, and with some of the best fantasy action sequences out there with, like, at least in this trilogy. In this movie, you have the cave troll sequence, which is just a very intense sequence through the mines of, forgot what they were called, but still great. You also have the end sequence, that little battle with Boromir and the 2 hobbits and all the orcs there. That's a great little end sequence there. And the way it kind of paves the way for the other movies in this trilogy as things go on, mainly like with the way this kind of caps off in terms of the other trilogies. The way this caps off in terms of the other films in this trilogy makes me just want to go watch the other 2. Whenever I watch this one, I pretty much watch the entire trilogy. I binge these movies because it just feels like one long Lord of the Rings film, and that's what makes these movies so great. And as I said, amazing characters, amazing sequences, just such an amazing world with all these kingdoms and all of these characters. Some say it does get a little bloated with the characters, which, fair enough, but that doesn't take away my love for this movie. So, amazing. Love it. But at number 1, we have The Lord of the Rings, The Return of the King. I love this movie to death. I mean, every single action sequence is memorable in their own right, especially the one in the middle where where they're destroying all the orc armorings that are coming over to Gondor. That's definitely my favorite one. In the bit where the king tries to practically kill his son. He jumps out. That scene's been memed up many times. And then, at least from what I've seen, also the end bit where Frodo has to destroy the ring. And the first time I watched it, I was like, oh, this is the ending. What? Come on, seriously? But then I realized, oh wait, we had all those epic battle sequences already, so like, it doesn't really matter. There's just every bit of this movie is just fantastic. It's set up very well right from the beginning, and it just leads to just probably one of the best payoffs. And if I take this, I don't think this one's good to watch on its own. I think Fellowship is probably the best on its own because this one, it's literally just a whole lot of payoff, and that's about it. Love where it ends with Frodo's journey and all the other hobbits. So it just works so well. It's such an amazing closer to this trilogy, and even some of the smaller moments, like where Aragorn becomes the king of Gondor, and some of the moments leading up to that where he gets the sword. Also, all the bits with Frodo and Gollum are just great. Frodo of the 3 people kind of trying to get the ring and having to do that. That's all great. All of the effects are amazing, and the spider effects actually look great in this one. That's a tense little sequence in there, and a bit of a smaller. I think this movie, as great as the epic stuff are, the smaller stuff are just as good, and that's where you have just such a great movie in general. And love what they do with pretty much every character here. You get the Legolas, Gimli banter. I'm at 2. No, I'm at like 19. So this, I don't know. I can't do it well. So. That's all so much fun. There's just fun to be had here. There's so many great characters as well. They're all closed out very well. And in the end, just a fantastic closer to this fantastic trilogy. I mean, as I said, it maybe does have like 5 too many endings, but they all kind of close out pretty much every single little story arc in these movies. So I'm okay with that overall. So even though this one feels like this is probably the most stretched out when it comes to all of the movies, and feels like this one does take the entire book and pretty much make it into a movie. But I don't care. I bet the book is great too. But fantasy is probably my favorite genre to read. I read the Land of Starry series, but that's enough on me. Love this movie. Share your rating in the comments below. Thank you guys so much for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe. I'm tired, and I'll see you guys next time. Adios.